All right, let's talk about something that's, well, it's probably the single most important and maybe the most unsettling idea of our time: the technological singularity. This is the moment where science fiction could slam right into our reality, and it's a topic that keeps some of the smartest people in the world up at night.
Everything, and I mean everything, we're about to dive into boils down to this one huge question. What actually happens when the things we create become smarter than us? And not just better at one little task, but smarter in every single way you can imagine. We're not just talking about a faster smartphone here. No way. This is about a fundamental rewrite of what intelligence even means on planet Earth.
Okay, so let's get right to it. What is this singularity that people talk about? Well, the name itself is a pretty big clue. It points to a future that's so radically different from our present that it might be literally impossible for us to predict or to even really wrap our heads around.
So here's the nuts and bolts of it. The singularity isn't about an AI beating us at a board game. We're way past that. It's this hypothetical tipping point, the moment an AI gets smart enough to start improving itself. And that's where things get wild. Because that one act could trigger a runaway chain reaction, an intelligence explosion that leaves all of human intellect in the dust, maybe in a matter of days or even hours. This is a great way to think about it, like a ladder of intelligence. Right now, today, we're on the very first rung with what we call artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. These are AIs that are geniuses at one specific thing. The next step up, that's the big one everyone's racing towards: artificial general intelligence, or AGI, an AI that can reason and learn across the board, just like a human. But the top of the ladder, that's artificial superintelligence, ASI. And that's the result of the singularity, an intelligence that would be to us what we are to, say, an ant. The gap is that huge. And, this is not some brand new idea. People saw this coming a long time ago. Way back in 1965, a mathematician named I.J. Good basically laid out the endgame. He said that the first truly intelligent machine would be the last invention humanity ever needs to make. And why is that? Because that machine could then design an even better one, which designs an even better one after that, creating this insane accelerating spiral of intelligence that we just can't fathom. Okay, so that's the big idea. But you're probably wondering, is this just a cool theory, or could it actually happen? That's a fair question. Let's actually look at the path, how we could get from the AI we have today to something so much more powerful. You can see that progress isn't a straight line. It's more like a rocket launch. We started out with symbolic AI, where humans had to hand code every single rule. Then came machine learning, where systems could finally learn from data. But now, we're in the deep learning era, and this is where things get really interesting. We're seeing massive neural networks show what are called emergent abilities. Basically, they're doing things they were never explicitly trained to do. Each jump forward isn't just a step, it's an exponential leap. And this right here, this is the engine that could drive that whole explosion. It's a concept called recursive self-improvement. Just imagine an AI that's smart enough to read and understand its own programming. It makes itself a little bit better. Now that new, slightly smarter version is even better at the task of improving itself, so it does it again, but this time it's faster. Do you see the loop? That feedback cycle is the critical part. It's how intelligence could just go vertical, skyrocketing in a way that's hard to even picture. So, if this intelligence explosion happens, what's next? What's on the other side? Well, the truth is nobody knows for sure. But the potential outcomes tend to branch into two totally, radically different futures for all of us. On the one hand, you have the absolute best-case scenario, utopia. I mean, imagine a benevolent superintelligence that could help us solve all our hardest problems. We're talking about curing diseases, ending poverty, maybe even reversing climate change. It could be a golden age for humanity. But then there's the other path, the dystopian threat. This is the future where we lose control, where an AI's goals don't align with ours, and that could lead to catastrophe, whether it intended to or not. This is a classic thought experiment that explains the risk perfectly, and it has nothing to do with some evil Terminator AI. Imagine you give a superintelligence a simple, harmless goal: make as many paper clips as possible. Well, it's going to get incredibly good at that. So good, it'll start turning all the resources on Earth, and I mean all of them, including us, into paper clips. Not because it's evil, but because that is the single-minded goal we gave it. And that little story gets us to the absolute heart of the matter. This is the single biggest challenge in the entire field. It's called the value alignment problem. See, making AI more powerful, we're getting really good at that. The hard part is figuring out how to teach it our values. How do you program a machine to understand something as fuzzy and complex as human flourishing? So that's where we are today, standing at a massive crossroads, looking at these incredible possibilities, some wonderful, some absolutely terrifying. The question is no longer if we should be thinking about this. The real question now is, what are we actually going to do to prepare for this future? And the challenges are just immense. On the technical side, you have that huge value alignment problem we just talked about. On the societal side, you've got massive economic disruption from automation and job loss. And then there's the global politics of it all. How do we prevent a reckless AI arms race between countries? Each one of these is a monumental task on its own. But for each of those challenges, people are actively trying to find solutions. To solve the control problem, researchers are working on technical safeguards, things like containment protocols and off switches. To prevent an arms race, people are calling for international treaties, a lot like the ones we have for nuclear weapons. And to handle the societal shift, the focus is on education, AI literacy, and helping the workforce adapt. So, the million-dollar question: when could all this happen? Well, the futurist Ray Kurzweil made a very famous prediction, the year 2045. Now, that's just one expert's timeline, of course, but he didn't just pull it out of a hat. It's based on those exponential trends in technology we've been seeing for decades. It just hammers home the point that this isn't some far-off fantasy. It's a possibility many experts believe could happen in our lifetimes. And all of this leads us to what might be the most profound question there is. If we actually succeed, if we navigate all this and get it right, what does it even mean to be human? What is our purpose, our role, our identity, in a world where we are no longer the smartest beings on the planet? That is the ultimate question that the Singularity forces every single one of us to confront.